Hey YouTube, this is Tom at TM Aquatics and I hope you're all doing great. In today's video, I'm going to give you an update on the L134 Leopard Frog Pleco fry that I have here in the fish room, as well as an update on the green laser Corydoras and a sneak peek at a new project that I'm really excited for. So stick around because you don't want to miss this one. Alright YouTube, a lot of people have been asking me for an update on these L134 Leopard Frog Pleco juveniles. These were spawned here in the fish room from my group of adult wild-caught fish earlier this past year. The adults started spawning around the New Year's, and their last spawn was in the first week of April. Now this is a 40 breeder grow-out tank, and believe it or not, there's anywhere between 40 to 50 L134 fry in here. They're great at hiding. Now most of them like to hide back behind these sponge filters. So I'll lift that up and you'll see a few of them back there anyways. I can see there's a few down underneath the box filter. A couple there on the side of the slate condo. We'll go to the other side over here. There's a bunch back there as well. Now these L134s are not for sale. I was selling these fish earlier on the Get Gills website. This past year I sold about 50 L134s, but currently I'm not selling any of these fish. And if you ask me and send me a private message, I will tell you the same thing. The reason I'm not selling any of these fish currently is I only have L134s in one tank, and I want to have some redundancy in case something happens to that tank. So I am planning an expansion here in the fish room, and I'll show you that here in a couple of minutes. But I want to have some redundancy and start one or two other groups of L134s. Now I had been selling these for about $40 to $45, which is the lowest you're ever going to find an L134. With that being said, I left a lot of money on the table, and if and when these go back for sale, they will be priced a little bit higher, probably in that $50 to $55 range, which is still going to be lower than anybody else. But again, right now, none of these fish are for sale. But there are just some absolutely beautiful, beautiful L134s in here. Now, they range in size anywhere from about 1 3/4 inch to about 2.5 inches. You can see right there the difference in those fish. That little juvenile on the left is out of the most recent spawn back around the first week in April. The one that's in that square cave is out of my very first spawn that took place around New Year's. There are some absolutely gorgeous fish in here. I'm super excited to start a couple more groups. Now, a lot of people have been asking me a couple of questions on a pretty regular basis, and that is the water parameters and the food. Before I show you the foods that I like to feed these fish, the water parameters that I keep my L134s at currently, the water parameters are a pH of 6.8. I keep my L134s right now at 80 degrees Fahrenheit, and the TDS in my L134 tanks is 60. Just keep them in warm, soft water and you'll do fine. I also recommend you do research. Check out other websites like Planet Catfish, and make sure you're providing what these fish need. But anyways, enough on this. Let's take a look at some of the foods I feed and why I choose those specific foods. Alright, so here's some of the foods that I like to feed my L134 Leopard Frog Plecos. This isn't everything that I feed, but this is the main diet and the primary foods that I feed my L134s. And I'll touch on all of these so you have a better understanding of why I choose these specific foods. First and foremost is the Ebo Aquarium Stick. This is a German-made food. The reseller in the United States is Gold Coast Aquatics. I feed the mussel formula and the seafood formula. This is a favorite of all of my Plecos here in the fish room, except the Pinaculus. I don't feed this to the Pinaculus. This is just too high of a protein for them. But these are a favorite of the L134s and my L46 Zebra group. The nice thing about Ebo Aquarium Stick is it really holds its integrity and its shape and doesn't break down in the water column real fast. The thing you need to keep in mind is a lot of Plecos don't feed until the lights are turned off, and they really don't actively start feeding until about a half an hour after the lights are off. So you don't want to be tossing in a food that's going to break down real quick and just float away in the water column and pollute the tank. Now the omega-1 veggie mini pellets, this is a lower protein food, but again, L134s are an omnivore, so it's important to have a good rotation of, higher protein foods and then some veggie-based foods. This is like a 32 or 33% protein. The first two ingredients on that omega-1 is kelp and spirulina. And I love to have a spirulina-based food, a couple spirulina-based foods, because it's such a superfood for fish, and actually should be fed to every fish. So many health benefits. Now over here is Dr. Basleer, and I feed the green formula and the regular formula. And the reason I choose or feed Dr. Basleer is just like the Ebo Aquaristick. Number one, it's a very high quality food. It's a really high protein food though, at like 57%. So you don't want to feed this, day after day after day. That wouldn't be, advisable. But it just holds its integrity and its consistency long after the food is introduced to the water column. So you don't have to worry about this stuff breaking down and floating away. Now the bug bites, this does break down a little quicker than I wish it would, and I wish it had held together a little bit longer, but the fish just absolutely love this stuff, and I know it's a good food, so I do add that in, and all my Plecos get that. Now this Aquarium food here, I do feed the soft krill pellets and the spirulina. I actually mix the two. This is a lower protein, I believe 36%. The spirulina, again, lower protein at 33%, but it just is packed with spirulina, which is such a good food for fish. Now, in addition to these foods here, I do feed my L134s frozen bloodworms about once a week, and then I also feed two blends of the, or two formulas of Repashy. I feed the bottom scratcher and the Soylent Green. And usually when I mix Repashy, I'm mixing 2 parts of bottom scratcher and 1 part Soylent Green, and all my Plecos get that, and they just absolutely love it. But those are the foods I'm feeding here in the fish room to my L134s and the reasons why I choose these specific foods. So anyways, enough on this. Let's go check out the green laser Corydoras. Alright, in addition to the L134s, I've been getting asked about the green laser Corydoras. Got my first spawn out of this group of 18 back around August 5th. Keep them in a 40 breeder. The water parameters in this tank similar to the L134s, except the temperature. The pH is around 6.8. The TDS is around 50 in this tank. The temperature, I keep this tank quite a bit cooler than the L134s. The tank temp bounces between 76 to 77 degrees. Now, this was the first spawn that I got out of this group of green laser Corydoras, and it was a pretty big spawn. They laid around 130 eggs, and all of the eggs were on the bulbitis leaves. There were no eggs on the rocks, the driftwood, on the sides of the tank. Now there is a floating, you can see maybe right back up there, there is a floating spawning mop. And there were 3 eggs in the spawning mop. Otherwise, all the other eggs were on the bulbitis leaves. Pretty simple, straightforward tank. Not too much going on in there, just some bulbitis, some rocks, and some driftwood. Couple of hides in there from Pleco ceramics. But out of the 130 or so eggs, I managed to get about 110 of them into the fry boxes. I did lose some to some fungus, but overall the hatch rate was pretty decent. Out of 110 or so eggs, I ended up with about 90 green laser Corydoras fry. So over here in this fry box, again, there's 40 in this fry box, and in this fry box there's about 50. Now for the first week, they were getting fed Hikari first bites and microworms. And then after that first week, I added live baby brine shrimp. They're growing out nice. They're starting to look like little baby Corys, but not bad for a first spawn. Alright YouTube, here's the first look at the new project here at TM Aquatics, and I am super excited about this. I thought my fish room was done expanding, and the wife allowed me to do some creative rearranging with her storage shelves down here in the storage room, and I picked up enough space to add this 6-foot stand. I picked this up from another hobbyist for a whopping $15. There's probably, I don't know, $75 to $80, maybe even more, worth of material in this stand. It's all 2x6 constructed. Both the bottom shelf down here and the top is sheathed in plywood. And this thing is solid. But all of 15 bucks, it was hard to resist, and she allowed it to happen, and I am very, very grateful. Down below, I managed to score at the closing bell of the last Petco $1 per gallon sale, a 40 breeder. I have 3 10-gallon tanks that I'm not currently using. I was able to fit 2 10-gallon tanks down here. It's just too narrow down here for me to fit the third one in, only by about a ½ an inch, which kind of stunk. But anyways, picked up a 5.5-gallon tank, and that works out great. I'm thinking of Daphnia culture in that 5-gallon. We'll see. But a couple of smaller tanks for growing out fry. Another tank here for, we'll just have to wait and see. And then up above, the plans were originally to add a 125-gallon tank here. And then I would take 30 or so of my L134 fry out of here and add to that 125-gallon tank and have a massive, epic, monster L134 Leopard Frog Pleco tank. The only issue that I have with that is just the inherent risk. If something happens to that tank and that tank crashes, I'm out. A lot of Plecos and a lot of money. So right now I haven't quite decided. I'm not a big tank guy. I'm more of a smaller tank guy. And bottom line is L134s don't need a 125. So I'm debating, haven't made the decision yet, a 125 on top or 2 more 40 breeders on top. Honestly, it's about even right now in the pros and cons. So anyways, tell me what your thoughts are down below. If this was your fish room and you were looking to expand, would you rather split up and have a couple tanks of L134s or one big monster epic massive colony? But yeah, I'm just a little concerned about the risk of having that many fish in one system. The whole reason and purpose of this was to have some redundancy here in the fish room and have more than one breeding group of L134s. I'm not sure tossing all my eggs into one large basket over here is the best plan. But anyway, still open to your thoughts and opinions. So anyways, let me know what you guys think. All right, YouTube, well, there you have it. An update on the L134 Leopard Frog Pleco fry and the Green Laser Corydoras fry. Now, before this video is over, I just want to add one more thing. I just want to say thank you, big major shout out to Jimmy, King Lee of Twin Cities Guppies, and Brian from Brian's Fish Tanks. The 3 of them visited my small fish room here at TM Aquatics. Jimmy did one of his fantastic videos, did an interview. It turned out fantastic. It's now live on Jimmy's channel. I'll be sure to link that down below. In fact, I'll drop links to all 3 of their channels below. Be sure to check out all 3 channels and subscribe if you already haven't done so. With that being said, please hit the thumbs up button if you liked the video. Hit the thumbs down if you didn't, but don't be a coward. Tell me why. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter to me because YouTube Analytics loves them both. But anyways, appreciate it again. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't. And until the next one, we'll catch you later.